All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with two wonderful MuleSoft mentors, both from Callius Consulting, Kiranjot and Himanshu. Thank you so much for your time today. And they have some really exciting demos and conversations around the latest features of Anypoint Partner Manager, which was just released a little bit ago. So welcome both. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Rafina. Thanks for having us. So exciting.
Awesome. Oh, it's early morning. My brain's still getting used to working at 7:30. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hand this stream over to these wonderful mentors. And if you both feel ready, I will let you take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are ready.
We are ready. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening. Myself, Kiranjot. So today we are going to explore APM, Anypoint Partner Manager, key features of Partner Manager, and the latest release updates that Salesforce has just been launched a month ago, and we're going to explore that. And I would say today's live stream is for the developers who are looking to integrate with any point the partner manager and the business owners who are looking APM as a product for their B2B transactions. So let's get started. And also before start this conversations, let me let us think about a problem, then we can get into a solution, and then we go in depth of that solution. So let us think about a problem where you all are Walmart owner, and you are dealing with different vendor in day-to-day life. Suppose the vendors are like fruit vendor, vegetable vendor, cosmetic vendor, water supply vendor, and many more, and so on. And in study says in approx that Walmart deals approx 700 plus vendor in a day. That's huge. That's huge amount actually. So let's take one step back in the era of 60s 70s, where how they deal with those vendors in those days. So they manually send their purchase order, they manually send the confirmation invoices, and all those stuffs were doing manually. Then eventually the business owners decided to have a standard format to do the B2B transactions. They introduced the formats like EDI formats, like X12, Edifex, and these formats are like very particular to the geographic regions as well, and these formats are very particular to business owners as well, and they have different versions of formats they are communicating with each other with the B2B transactions. Again, evaluation happen, the B2B transactions then going to happen in the form of in the another formats as well. It's like JSON, XML, um, and text format. So there are key attributes where in B2B transaction, those are same, but the format of the transaction eventually evolved with the time. Let me share my screen and give you a idea about the partner manager. You can see my screen? Anybody can give me thumbs up?
Yeah, Kiran, it's visible.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so now think about if I'm dealing with 20, 30 vendors in a day, and all are sending me purchase order, all are sending me invoices in different formats. And maybe those are existing vendors or upcoming new vendors. How I'm solving that problem with APM with API led connectivity approach. So if you think partner manager as an experience API layer, and which accept actually all the formats of transactions, all the formats of B2B transactions, and internally we are dealing with in the process API and store the transaction in our backend systems. So partner manager, the one of the key feature of the partner manager is a configuration based GUI, where you can configure your partner formats, the GUI based, and it would accept the format. It would accept the format like EDI, X12, Edifact, XML, JSON, and all are configuration based. And it could accept the on the protocol as AS2, SFTP, FTP, HTTPS. All these protocols, these all are the configuration GUI configuration based onboarding. So let me show you where this is the, if you go on this dashboard, you see partner manager over here. If you click on the partners, so if you click on the create partner, so it's all a DUI based. Himanshu will show you demo how to create a new partner, onboard a new partner on APM. Next, second step, if you already understood what are the partners, how they are accepting the, what are the formats they are accepting, and over the which protocols. And now let me show you one more diagram. So when I'm saying B2B transactions, what that means, B2B transactions. So business to business transaction is like, and it's a very specific standards there all the B2B transactions are following nowadays. The first transaction could be a purchase order, that would be the 850, it denotes with the 850, and the confirmation of that purchase order is 855. This is a communication with one vendor, and likewise I have multiple vendors to establish the communication with. So I would go and just explain you the format of the B2B transaction to understand the demo better. What are the key attributes we have in B2B message, uh, that we would use in configuration of onboarding partners. Let me share my screen again. My screen is visible, Himanshu?
Yeah, Kiran, it's visible.
Okay. So I took an example of this B2B transaction. This is X12 transaction type. So, X12 is a format of B2B transaction. So if you see, this is a uh, message, B2B message that we are going to send from one partner to other partner, or we are going to store that information in our backend system. So let us understand the B2B message. What are the key attributes we need to check on that B2B message that we are going to use in our configuration, or the information we need to store in the backend. So if you see there,
Kiran,
this
can you
is
zoom a little bit? Actually,
okay.
it's not clearly visible. Yeah.
It's visible now.
No, it's still blur.
Mm, now,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay. So in this B2B message, this is the functional group. If you see this, this is a functional group. This is a functional group. Group start, and this is group end. And this is the sender ID that we need to take care. This is the receiver ID that we need to take care. And this is the interchange ID that we need to take care. And this is also 850. 850 is a very standard format that is denotes to purchase order. And this is transaction start, this is transaction end. In this transaction set, if you see, we have multiple segments. And in B2B transaction also, in X12 also, we have different version of X12 X12 B2B transactions. Now, now imagine there are 100 plus vendors and 200 plus vendors. All are using X12, but also at the different version levels. And APM actually solving this problem to have multiple format acceptability with within one GUI configurations. This sounds amazing, right? This first transaction, this is the beginning of transaction. If you see till this to this point, this is the message header, and this is the product description. This is the product one, this is product description, this is product discount attribute. The product description like blue t-shirt, red t-shirt, white t-shirt, Reebok t-shirt, these are the product descriptions. And also the segments, these are the repeatable segments. These are repeatable segments. N1, N3, N4, these are repeatable segments. And these segments, the order of these segments are very important because we are going to read those segments. And this, if this is N1 segment is sent to this store and this number, and this is address, this is city, and this is area code. If we missed N3, the N4 doesn't make sense. So order is very important, and the information that has been inserted in that segment. And also this is date and time, dispatch date and time. And yeah, this is a kind of B2B transaction message, the format X12. And another B2B transaction is JSON, the format of JSON, where we have the similar kind of information, but in JSON format. Receiver ID, message ID, receiver date and time, message type, purchase order. Purchase order again, it's 850, denote as 850. And we have purchase order line items, like we have earlier we saw that we have purchase order description, order details, order discount. Likewise, we have in JSON as well. So why I'm explaining this, because these are the formats the vendors can send you B2B transactions, and these key parameter or key attributes we are going to use to configure to onboard a partner and read the transaction from the partner. If we can go ahead, and this is the one key feature, and also we can check the B2B transaction end-to-end traceability. If I send this transaction in morning 7:48 p.m., so I can see the status of that transaction, that it is delivered, fail, or in process. So end to end end-to-end traceability of that business transaction we can view in the activity session of Partner Manager. And this XML is like I would say legacy EDI formats, and JSON and XML are like modern API formats. So Anypoint Manager is a one hybrid platform where it could accept any kind of format and solve your problem. One platform, any format. And this is a transaction traceability, and there are also many key features that we are going to discuss. uh, I will pass to Himanshu just to show us a demo of one transaction. I
Sure,
will
Kiran.
stop my screen.
Okay. Thanks, Kiran. Okay, I'll just take it from here. So I'll just quickly start sharing my screen. Yeah, Kiran, do let me know when my screen is visible. Can you see my screen?
Not not yet.
I'll just reshare it. Give me a second. It's still not visible?
No.
Okay. Looks like there's some glitch. Now?
Still on. If you want to rejoin it,
Yeah, I'll try that one.
oh, we can see your screen. We can see.
Okay. Thank God. So, hi everyone. I'll just straight away start with the use case. So, as Kiran has already mentioned that this Anyone Partner Manager is responsible particularly for B2B transactions. Okay, so what we are gonna look today is we have two organizations that they want to communicate with each other. Okay, using their standard formats like EDI or like XML, EDI, EDIFACT, or even they can communicate through JSON, XML, and CSV too. Okay, so in this use case, what will happen is consider that Kalias being one of the company which has 20 gaming parlors. Okay, on the one hand, they have 20 gaming parlors. So what happens is if one of the gaming parlor, let's say they there is a shortage of some CDs and DVDs. Okay, they demand from Kalias that we want 20 CDs of a particular game. Let's consider NFS and GTA. Okay, so what Kalias will do now? It will contact with their vendors who usually supply these vendors or partner who usually supply these CDs and send them a purchase order. Okay, so Kalias being a system layer, consider that we have details of whatever the requirements in these systems. It is going to just pull that details, and through Partner Manager it is going to place a purchase order of 20 CDs, and that will be like APM automatically routes that to the particular partner whomsoever we want to send a purchase order. For timing, we're gonna consider fun time as our vendor over here. Okay, in the middle, if we can see, we Anypoint Partner Manager, we have some architecture of how it actually works, which Kiran is going to cover in the later section. and also how the transaction works, we're going to just see in the demo part of this one. So directly jumping on to how we can configure this partner, like we if we want to do a transaction with a particular partner, how we can onboard them and create a message flows accordingly. I'm going to show you that one. So let me share my tab once again. Anypoint Partner Manager. Yep, here we go. Can you just give me a heads up when you can see that?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So first of all, you need to log in into Anypoint platform, and as Kiran has already shown you that how you can go to the partner manager. The whenever we onboard any of the partner, the prerequisite is that we need to first of all configure our host profile. For current instance, it is like alias consulting inc. So first we need to configure our host profile, and then only we can jump onto the partner's profile. Okay, so if let's say you want to uniquely identify your profile, so you can set here identifiers, which will let us the purchase order on the or the all the vendors will let know that who is actually sending that messages or whose the transaction is happening with which with whom. Okay, we have five types of identifiers that we can allocate to this particular profile. One is AS2 identity. AS2 is basically a mode of communication through which we can do a EDI transaction. Okay. Then we have edifact, and then we have a reference ID. Okay, I'll just first of all open the AS2. You can just put an identifier for AS2. Then we have edifact. You can also set a qualifier for edifact. Let's say we have put a dunce number, and then you can put the value accordingly. So you must be having a unique value for your particular host. Then we have reference ID, and if we are doing any sort of external transaction, so you need to have external GS and ISA. As Karen has already mentioned that this is for one is for interchange and another one is for the functional group. So you need to mention both the identifiers. Moving on, if you are doing any sort of AS2 transaction, you need a certificate for that. So as to make sure the connection is secure in nature, you can just add certificates from here. You can just upload your uh, private certificate file, and that will be done. Okay. Next come endpoints. Okay, so in whenever you are communicating with the partners or vendors, you need to have two source of endpoints. Like uh, whenever you are sending, it would be sent to partners, it would be an outbound call that you are sending, like just like we have recently seen that we want to place a order of 20 CDs, so we are going to send purchase order to our partners. Okay, apart from that, we have received from partners. We also have from where we want to like send the details or see the details. We have target at host and source at host. So let's consider we want to send our details to the partner or send the purchase order. We're going to simply select send to partner. Okay, now we have multiple protocols available in our Anypoint Partner Manager. We can communicate through FTP, HTTP, HTTPS, or SFTP. For timing, let's consider we are sending the details through HTTP. Okay, simply you just need to mention the name, like let's say alias sender endpoint. Okay, then you can put a description. It is completely optional. You need to have a URL for it. Okay, and after that you can also mention the response time, the retry intervals. Let's say if it stops in between, something happens, how much, like after how much time it should retry to make a connection with that particular, the number of retries. And also you can put an authentication time, like if you need API key, basic authentication, client credentials, or what's token. Okay, that is one thing. Apart from that, if we like whenever we do any sort of transactions, we need to have a message type on which message we are doing transaction. It could be XML, JSON, effects, like that. So let's say we are sending to partner, and it would be a JSON format. Okay, we are sending it to JSON, and the partner internally, the message flow will convert that into a EDI message format, and the partner will accept any EDI. But whenever we are sending any JSON, we need to let the APM know, okay, it will start with JSON, and then at the end the destination will have an EDI. Okay, so likewise, you have you have selected a JSON format. Accordingly, whenever you are sending a JSON, you need to put the JSON schema also. Okay, like like I can show you a simple JSON schema. Let's say we are sending a purchase order to fund time, and you just need to put a JSON schema, then it will be done. Okay, you can also name it accordingly if you want to segregate with all the partner names, you can do that. Okay, that would be one thing. Next is custom attributes. If you want to set any attributes for any particular transactions, you can set it over here. Then these are some global like global endpoint transaction. If you want to set do any AS2 certifications, you want to put certificate, you can do that. And similarly for edifact, if you want to add any sort of validations, you can put here in the edifact message formats. Okay, next, the one more important key comes over here in this one is payload storage API. Okay, so what happens is whenever any transaction is going from one point to another, that is from source to destination, we want to have a track of the transaction and the payload, the message that we are sending. We ideally we should have a backup of that, so that we can, if in future if we wanna review that or use it for a different purpose, we can simply go back and check that out. So payload storage API then comes into action. What happens in this one is it usually connects with any external service. You can use S3 bucket, any databases, or let's say Azure. For timing right now we have used Azure Blob Storage. What it will do is you can configure that you will have two resources, one for sending the details to that particular external service, one for receiving that. And simply you can just put your URL over here and it will start working. Okay, then we have the response time. Just like we configure our APIs into a request connector in Mule applications, similarly we have to do it over here also. We need to put URL, then we have response time, retry intervals, maximum retries. If you want to set any sort of authentication, we can straight away do that too. Okay, next come our host profile is completely ready now. Okay, what next step is, we need to start onboarding our partner. Okay, so Anypoint Partner Manager is designed in such a manner that not only technical person but the business persons can easily onboard a partner, and just like any sort of transaction is happening, they can also view that we have an activity tab over here. But before jumping onto that, let's see how we can onboard a partner. So we have two ways to create a partner. One is simply just we can click on partner and create a new one. If we have a third party connection, but when this comes into action, I'll let you know. Consider Fun Zone being one of our partners. Okay, and they do not directly communicate with EDI. They do not directly communicate. They have someone in the middle. They have some what should I say, middleware in between, whom from which they like you do all their transaction, EDI transactions. So in that case, we usually do a third party connection. Okay, now I'll show you how we can onboard a partner. Let's say we have Fun Zone being one of our partner. Actually, it is already onboarded, so I'm just gonna put like Fun Zone live, and then we can select their unique identifier. So we have pick X12 ISA, and we can go for right now, like we have different qualifiers for this one. For this one, the prerequisite is you need to have some sort of EDI knowledge, then only you can configure these details. Once you have that, you can easily configure the qualifiers and identifiers. So in the EDI one, we have like dunce number, phone number, which uniquely identifies the transaction for that particular partner. Okay, so right now let's pick as ZZ, and I can put anything now. So I have for timing, I have put their identifier as fun zone live. Sorry, my bad. Yep. Okay, and my partner is created. It is pretty straightforward. Okay. More thing is in because this UI is we need to make it very user friendly and business people can also look into that. So we have one more option to put the details about that partner. I can put a description like this is a gaming company, and I can also mention their websites like www.funzonelive.com or or maybe, and I can also paste their logo. After that, I can add their corporate address if I want to add a business point of contact, like whosoever is handling these EDI transactions, or would be a person who is responsible for all the message transmissions. They can just simply, we can just simply put it over here. Okay, that's one thing. Okay, moving on, we can just simply click on save, and you can see the details are populated. Once you update the logo, this will also get updated. Okay. Next is identifier. As I, this would be the profile of any partner would be completely same as we have configured for the host profile, as we have configured for Kalis Consulting. This would be completely same. We would have identifiers, certificates, endpoints, and we can also mention the validation and acknowledgement settings. Okay. So I'll just, this is all about the partners, how you can onboard them. Yeah, endpoints, you can make specific endpoints for each partners, or you can also use a generic endpoint to send details to a partner that we can just see once we start building a message flow. Okay. In terms of acknowledgement settings, so whenever you receive any message from partners or if you send it to them, you need an acknowledgement actually, okay, that whether the message is received by the other party or the third party. So you can just simply enable these functional acknowledgements, and then you can control that. So we have acknowledgements, then if you want to send a functional acknowledgement or not, then we would have some sort of validations also, in terms of, like, this is particularly for Edifact. If you want to make if you want to do it for Excel also, we have a separate segment where you can do that. Like, let's say if I want to send a technical acknowledgement, or if I want to send a function acknowledgement, I just simply need to do a checkbox and mention my endpoint over here, and that's where they will receive, okay, whatever the message they have sent, it is successfully processed or successfully transmitted to the other party. Okay. Then we have validations. Let's say we want to put some validations on the message that we are sending. We can simply make sure these checkboxes are enabled accordingly, that it should fail whenever we received any unknown segments, or if any unused segments are included, any sort of uh, codes are set for the validation. You can play with that. That's very like, it's very simple to just check and uncheck these check boxes. Okay. Moving on, we have control numbers. We have character sets, like we can also mention special character sets, like recently partner manager has introduced a new character set features, which Kiran is going to talk about on the later part, and we're going to show how we can enable that too. Okay. Next comes a message flow. Okay, so before jumping on to a message flow, I already have two of my partners created. That is, one is Fun Time and Fun Zone, and for Fun Zone there is no message flow as such, but for Fun Time I have already created 5 message flows, and the main focus would be on X12, 850, 810, and 855, because these are very common transactions that happens between two businesses, and that is very popular in market. So 850 is particularly for purchase order, 855 is for purchase acknowledgement, and 810 is for invoice. Okay. So before showing them the already created flows, I'm going to show you how first we can create a new flow, and then we'll see how the other flows are working. Okay. So let's jump onto this one. We have, as I already mentioned, we have two modes of communication. One is inbound order or outbound order. Okay. So what is inbound and outbound? First, let's understand, and then we can go over this send to partner and receive from partner. Outbound order is, consider that I want to place an order to Fund Time, or my organization want to place. That would be an outbound order, like a purchase order of 20 CDs. Okay. And whenever they send me an invoice, that would be inbound for me. Okay, so that is how it is done. So I want to send a message to my partner, so simply I'll just go and select send to partner. I'm gonna select like Fun Zone, and you can also see for that particular partner how many message flows are created, the partner name and the message flows are already there. Let's say if any new partner is not created, okay, like the partner that you're looking for is not onboarded yet, you can simply click on new and you can onboard from here also. We have the same process, we have the same dialog box available here too. Okay, coming back over here, I'm gonna select fund zone. Okay, and you can see these fund zone will have all the details of fund zone whatsoever we have defined there. Is it's already here, x12 gs and isa, like that. Okay, let's select fund zone and see the message flow creation. Okay.
Meanwhile, Shivam is asking, would inbound from a partner receiver for from API experience API process API to API layer? So, think Shivam, experience API layer. The APM is itself a experience API layer, and the message would travel from APM to process API to system API. So the experience API is not a developed API, but internally it actually created of APIs who handle the business transaction end to end. Hope this answer would help you.
Sure, we will get a more idea once I'll show you the how the backend APIs are created, how the flow is working on. You'll get a more idea on that side. And also, it's you can also create your. It's not restricted that if you are using Partner Manager, then you cannot create your own APIs. Surely you can call your APIs using Partner Manager. Let's say you have received some invoice and you want to store it to your external database or let's say your Salesforce also. Okay, then you can simply create a system API where you can send the details and you can communicate with this one. Okay, I'll come back onto the message flow. Okay, so as I already mentioned that we are sending a message to our partner. So Fund Zone over here is a partner, and we being a host, we are sending it to them. So source, you can create a source over here. Okay, first one is you need to select an endpoint. Okay, endpoint means the mode of communication that you're gonna make. It can be FTP, like you can post your file in an FTP server from where APM will automatically pick up. You can use this FTP, and also you can use HTTPS. So the simple mode of communication HTTPS, I'm gonna just show you that how you can do it. Okay, you can put your endpoint name. Let's say it would be uh, HTTPS endpoint for fun zone. Okay, for the receiving. Okay, and we can put a description. One more thing, if your organization already have a VPC configured, if you want to deploy these application inside a VPC, you can simply checkbox it and it will get deployed under a VPC. Otherwise you can use a shared load balancer to call this one. Okay, then if you want to manage it using your API manager, simply you can go to API manager, create an application and put your instance ID over here, and it will be this particular endpoint will be managed using API manager. Then by default the URL automatically gets generated. Okay, and when you can retrieve this URL once you deploy this application, once you deploy this particular flow, the backend APIs will get deployed, and that's where you can get the URL. You can also set a base path. Let's say for I want to segregate all my transaction of fund zone with base path. So I can simply put fund zone and then I can put my message type and do the transaction. Then next comes the authentication. I don't want any sort of authentication right now. Okay. So as you can see, whenever you do any sort of operations on the right hand top corner, the endpoint created or message flow updated will come here. Now comes the source message. Okay. What would be my source message now? Recently they have like earlier it was XML and JSON. Recently they have come up with CSV, which you can see in the later part. Let's say I have selected JSON. First I need to put my JSON schema there. So I have already created JSON schema. I'm just going to simply put here, and my identifier mapping. Now what is identifier mapping actually? So the JSON body that I'm sending, like I can simply show you the JSON body how it actually looks like. Let's say this is my B2B message that I'm going to send. Okay, so as you remember, we have already configured some identifiers on a host profile and the partner's profile, which lets us know that, okay, this is a unique identifier for them, like receiver ID, then we have sender ID. Okay. So similarly, we usually send these details in our message also. For once we receive this message, how the partner manager is going to validate, okay, from where it is coming. So that's where these identifier and attribute mappings come into action. Okay. So you can simply create a mapping, a DWL mapping, and then you can put it over here, and we are good to go. Okay. Moving on. As I already mentioned, you need a reference ID. So I have already created a reference ID for Fund Zone and for Kalis Consulting too. So CCN would be one of the reference ID. Okay. Once you're good with that, so this is like our message flow is divided into three sections. One is the incoming of message and its validation against what message we are getting, like a JSON message. So it will validate against JSON schema. Then we would have a mapping. Okay, it would be a DWL mapping where you can mention that if you are receiving any sort of JSON, like JSON payload, but you want it to be in a different format, you can just put it over here, the DWL mapping, and accordingly the partner manager will take care of that. So I have fun time JSON to EDI mapping. It's already created. Okay. So in this case, what I'm trying to do is I'm just sending a JSON message, and partner manager on my behalf will going to create a 850i EDI message and send it to the fund zone. Okay. So what would be the destination message that you want? So if let's say there is a already created message, you can simply select that. If not, if you want to select your new message, you can simply I want to go for a X12 version. We have multiple available versions. We have multiple versions which are available over here. It is always like it, whenever any instance get updated over partner manager, we can always see the latest versions coming in over here. So for timing, I'll just select 4010 VICS. Then I'm dealing with 850, so I can go for 850 now. And now, so whenever B2B transactions happen, so X12 usually organization prefer a standard format, and sometimes if they want to do any sort of modifications in the schema, they also go for a custom one. So then we can put a custom schema over here as we have done for a JSON one. Okay. For timing, I'm just going for the standard one. Let's click on save schemas. Okay, give me a second. Okay, it's already created, so I can go for another one. Actually, the this one is already created in the backend. So let's say I can go for 4020 now. Hmm, okay, I haven't selected the message type. Yeah, because earlier it was already created. That's why it was not accepting. But if it is already created, you can select that one. If you want to go for a new message document type, you can go for this one. Next comes acknowledgement, as I already mentioned that if you want a TA, that technical acknowledgement or functional acknowledgement, we can set a validation on a partner level as well as you can set it on a flow level, and then you need to mention an endpoint over here. For timing, I'm just considering this acknowledgement as such. Okay, and next comes the settings of this acknowledge fund zone acknowledgement. As I have already shown in the partner profile, when I was configuring, there was X12 setting. This was the X12 setting that we are referring. If you want to go for a custom one, you can definitely go for a custom one too. Okay, but for timing, I'll just go with the default one. Then the identifiers. Okay, so EDI message do need identifiers from where it is, from where the transaction has started, and from where it is going to be, like the what is the destination of that particular message. So yeah, so we have, and I also mentioned a point that it's mandatory that we need ISA and GS, both these segments. So that's the case that you can see over here. I'll go with the fun zone then. Okay, so all of them are configured. We have done a source, we have done a mapping, then comes the what is the receiver of this particular message. Okay, for fun zone, we have multiple mode of communication. It can be AS2. You can send your EDI message through AS2 to all of your partners. You can use this FTP. You can just upload a EDI file to the SFTP server. You can use HTTP mode of communication, and you can also use this FTP. So I can we can go for SFTP for time being, just to show the variation of mode of communications. Okay, you can add, like, for timing I've just added this host. You can put some random username, let's say user, but ideally it would be the connection details of your SFTP server. For timing I'm just putting a random values, but ideally it should be that one. And it would be a target path, so we are sending an outbound, so we just can make it an outbound. And you can also, if you want to use a standard file format, you can use this. If you want to customize it on your based on your business use case, you can do that too. uh, let's click on save. Okay, so our message flow is created. You can see the green check boxes is completed. The next thing comes up is the deployment. Okay, you can deploy this by simply clicking on deploy button. You need to put your comments over here, because whenever you deploy it again and again, it can, let's say you have updated the mapping, you can simply put a comment and the last update block, this thing, it will come over here in this last update, that what was the last update that is being made to this particular flow. Okay, so I'll just make it like this is my first deployment. Okay, and the deployment is started. Okay, so now what is happening in the backend, whenever we are deploying this particular message flow in the backend, particular APIs are getting created, which are responsible for all these transactions, and we don't have to do anything. Partner manager by default, like by default in the backend, it creates these APIs. So I can show you that APIs too, but for that one, I need to change my tab again. Share screen. Kiran, do let me know if you can see my complete screen, because this is more of a hectic thing.
Not yet.
Yeah. You cannot see that?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll then just separate MuleSoft document. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is the runtime manager. As you all
We
know that we have.
can't
Yeah,
see
you
your
see that?
screen, Himanshu. We can't see your screen. Can we quickly go to the one message flow? Uh,
Okay, sure, we can do that.
one B2B transaction.
And it is still not visible.
No.
Something is happening with this
Okay.
one.
Meanwhile, I can share my screen and
Yeah,
explain what all APIs, what is the internal architecture of APM that everybody is requested for. So let's talk about inbound and outbound transaction and what is the architecture inside look like. Suppose so this is the internal architecture for APM, if you would say. So when a partner send you B2B transaction, it would come through any protocol. And once you onboard the partner and create the message flow, it internally created the 5 APIs that is responsible for B2B transaction end to end. In this 5 APIs, it automatically
Kiran, your
deploys.
screen is not visible actually.
Oh, oops. No. Oh, I'm
There is
sorry.
some today.
Uh, okay. Now?
Mhm. No, it's not coming up.
Mm-mm-mm. Sabrina, you are here. If you could help us. Uh, um, um, mm. Let me try it again one more time. If we get stuck.
I think so. Sharing one tab is working right now, not the complete screen. You can try that out.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
I already tried that one, but looks like there's some issue. But surely I can just try it again.
Okay. Now just let me know now.
hmm No, it's not visible. It's not at all visible.
I can see. I don't know. Stop screen. Sabrina, if you are here, could you please help us to share a screen? So, Shivam, think about it. So, once you onboard the partner, it create 5 APIs at the backend in the runtime manager that would actually responsible for validation and the process of message. Later, you can pass to any target system, and target system could be a partner itself or API or end system as well. So, you can configure system API as an endpoint which would all which would treat you as a system layer, or the system layer could be the partner itself. The partner could be there would be another format acceptability for that partner. So APM treat as an experience API, process it if you want to process it, and the end system would be the partner itself or an end system that actually consuming your business transaction. So I'm just verbally going to explain you what would happen when we are deploying when we are onboarding a partner in a partner manager. There is a 5 APIs are going to deploy automatically once you are created your message flow. And the first API is the documentation API that is actually validate your message and check the attributes, required attributes, like we mentioned the identifiers in our configuration. It would check if the identifiers are there, how many business transactions are there, transaction set, a number of transaction sets are match enough, and parallelly it would go to the replication API. I wish I could show you the replication API where we can store a message to external storage so that we can see the payload later. We can see the business transaction end to end. And there is a third API that is acknowledgement API that would be responsible to send the acknowledgement to the business partner when we receive the business transaction from one vendor. And fourth and fifth one is outbound and inbound APIs, which is responsible to accept the message and send the message. And these 3 APIs is required minimum of 1 week core, and these are documentation, replication, and acknowledgement APIs. Its minimum requirement is 1 week core, and inbound and outbound is minimum requirement is 0.5 week core. Yeah, that's what I just mentioned, Shivam. That how many weeks? So three APIs, documentation, valid documentation, replica, and acknowledgement require 1 week, and the inbound and outbound is 0.1 week. And if Himanshu, if you could quickly share your, you already, I can see your screen here.
Yeah,
Quickly send a one transaction, then we jump into the new features that we
sure.
would go.
Okay, so this transaction is for purchase order. Okay, and what I'm gonna do
Mhm.
is I'm gonna send it from Kilias to one time. Okay, we have all the details like we are placing order for 20 CDs. I'm just gonna simply send it. Okay, it is 202 accepted. That means it is accepted by the partner manager. Okay, now what happens? First of all, it goes to the inbound API internally, and you can see current time is 8:54. So my document is being received and the flow is finished for the inbound API. From the inbound, it will go to document processing API, B2B. Okay, that's where all the validation checks and data weave, all the things are being performed. See, 824, we have the transactions. Okay, and these APIs are not directly communicating with each other through HTTP. It internally uses MQ. Kiran can explain that one too. Okay, and we have the reference ID. You can see CC, and just now I have sent that message, and it is completed. It is being document is received. That means the flow is successfully completed. Next, parallelly to the document processing API, the replication service also get activated, which ultimately calls a payload storage API and store all of our transactions to the external service. So as you can see, 854 transaction successfully, and it has sent that one. Okay, next comes the outbound. Okay, so that would be the destination where you are sending it. So we have, and also for inbound you can have multiple APIs, like you have defined inbound for fun time as a different inbound, fun zone as a different inbound. That will create two different APIs. For outbound we'd have, like for outbound HTTP would have different, for SFTP would have different. Okay, so the transaction has completed. Now it will go to the outbound to send it to the another API. And so it has already sent that one. We can just simply check this is the same outbound or different outbound. I need to check that one. B2B, SFTP, and HTTP. Okay, so let's go to HTTP logs. 854. Yeah, so you can see it is successfully delivered the document. Okay, so the document is being received by the destination. So what I'm trying in this particular flow, what I did is I have just called a partner API. So just to show you how the message is looking now. So as you can see, 854, we have received an EDI message now. This is the EDI message that is being sent to partner. Simply show you. Yeah, this is the EDI message that we received. This is 850. Similarly, we have request for invoice also, and purchase acknowledgement, like purchase order acknowledgement. We can just simply send it to, we can receive it from our partners and store it in our database external service, or do all the required functionality. Yeah, Kiran.
Okay, if you could share your screen with the internal architecture, I would just quickly go through the internal architecture of APM.
Sure, I can show you that too.
Yeah.
So Lisa chat. uh, here's the internal architecture of this APM.
Okay, so if you could see this is a APM internal architecture. It's for outbound message. When you receive the message, could you go to inbound transaction first?
Sure, I'll just go to inbound transaction first then. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So in this architecture, we receive the message from vendor over this protocol, and if you see the message go to the document process API where it validate the message, and the later it go to the sorry parallel it go to the application service where it stored the your message payload that you can replay that message or view that message, and then it would go to the outbound, and outbound would connect to the any end system or any other partner. So Himanshu, if you could go quickly to the activity tab of
Mm-hmm.
Anypoint Partner Manager.
Yeah, sure.
So let's talk about the latest release we have in API Partner Manager. See it so there are multiple steps the transaction go through. It received by the partner manager, it would go to the process API, or it go to the system layer, or it could go to the system partner system. So in this whole transaction, the at any point transaction could fail and you want to rerun that transaction, replay that transaction. So Anypoint Partner Manager gives you that feature. You can replay that if you just hover over the original yeah, if you click on this original message, you can replay this message. Received you save the message and you can replay it if it is fail at any point. So if you clicked on it, the replay button, it would start the reprocessing of that message. Could it might the message could fail for any reason. Might be the system partner is a target system partner is not active, or any system layer would fail, or any other system in between is failing, validation is failing, or any reason could be possibility. So you can simply click on it and replay that message, and this is an amazing feature. You can replay that message later as well by checking the status. And also there is a one amazing feature that has just been launched, that we could accept our message format in CSV file, CSV format as well. If you see, we could define the delimiter. Can you quick?
Yeah, yeah, Kiran, I'm just showing that one too. Yep. You can go ahead with the explanation. I'll show them
Yeah.
everything.
So in this feature, we could accept a message as a CSV as well, and we could define the delimiter, escape character, where line ends. All this information we can configure over here, and we can would accept the message in the form of CSV, or we can send the partner message in the form of CSV. So this is the also latest features that just been released. There's one more feature I want to talk about is the X12 uh, interoperability. If you could go.
Just give me a second. Yep. This
Yeah,
is.
so if you see, you can receive a message in Edifact, which could be the uh, think about it. If the Edifact message and you have hex code delimiter and you want to accept that form of message, a form of B2B transaction from the vendor, and send it to another vendor, so you can do it in this way. So you can um, use hex code as a separator for Edifact B2B transaction. These are the amazing feature that just has been launched, and we have documentation on Salesforce website. If you go through it, it's very talkative enough to perform a POC. Yeah, that's all for today's live stream. I guess we are top of time. I apologize. I hope it would be informative enough.
That was awesome. Thank you all so much. We had such an active chat, and there's still questions coming in, but thank you so much, Himanshu and Kiranjot. Sorry for the screen changes. Seems like StreamYard was having a bit of an issue today, but thank you both so much. That was very informative, and we hope you'll come back with even more use cases and explanations.
Definitely, Sabrina.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We're going to close out stream. Thank you for staying with us a bit over. And make sure before you go, just make sure that you follow us. If you're watching on LinkedIn, follow us on Twitch. And that's also where you can find the recordings. If you go to /videos, and they will also be linked on YouTube. So tons and tons of places for you to go check it out. And yeah, while I close it out, I'm just some awesome praise for our wonderful speakers today. And with that, I'm gonna end our broadcast. Thank you both so much.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.